What is up, guys? This is ZZ Commando ZZ here with our very first episode of WarShips Beta. Of course, yes, I am in the beta. I've actually been in for quite a bit, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start recording some of the beta. Why not? I'm on the Tier 3 Japanese battleship, the Kawaichi, or Kawaichi? I don't know. Fuck. Kawachi. That's what I'm thinking it is. But sorry for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing pretty good. Ship wise, I'm trying to get to the Yamamoto because, well, it's a badass ship for what the Japanese had. I'm thinking about probably buying the Agato. I'm not too sure how you pronounce that, but whatever. I'm wanting to purchase this ship because it just looks sweet, and it being a tier 8, a tier 8 ship, cruiser, and allow me to put a good crew at least into my cruisers, which would be pretty good. During this episode, I guess for World of Warships, I'm gonna be playing an audiobook that I started reading it, listening to, I should say, yesterday. It's a really good book. It's called The Martian by Andy Weir. It's a really good book if you like the chemistry side and the sciencey side of stuff, which I love a lot. So I mean, oh man, this ship is nice, but it's a really good book and that I've been listening to. So I'm on chapter 6, and I guess I'm gonna be playing that while playing this because it's just something good to listen to, and it's pretty funny. It's a sci-fi fiction. No, it's a novel. Yeah. So I usually don't read much. I'm not much of a reader, but I mean, there's some things I will. So yeah, I'm gonna go play. Click play over.
On the floor and collapsed into his leather chair.
Alright,
He took a moment to look out the windows.
Alright, so let's get
His
into battle.
office in Building 1
Kawaichi.
afforded him a commanding view of the large park in the center of the Johnson
Tier
Space
3
Center
battleship.
complex. Beyond that, dozens of scattered buildings dominated the view all the way to Mud Lake in the distance. Glancing at his computer screen, he noted 47 unread emails urgently demanding his attention. They could wait. Today had been a sad day. Today was the memorial service for Mark Watney. The president had given a speech praising Watney's bravery and sacrifice and the quick actions of Commander Lewis in getting everyone else to safety. Commander Lewis and the surviving crew via long-range communication from Hermes gave eulogies for their departed comrade from deep space. They had another 10 months of travel yet to endure. The administrator had given a speech as well, reminding everyone that spaceflight is incredibly dangerous and that we will not back down in the face of adversity. They'd asked Venkat if he was willing to make a speech. He declined. What was the point? Watney was dead. Nice words from the director of Mars operations wouldn't bring him back. "You okay, Venk?" came a familiar voice from the doorway. Venkat swiveled around. "Guess so," he said. Teddy Sanders swept a rogue thread off his otherwise immaculate blazer. "You could have given a speech." "I didn't want to. You know that." "Yeah, I know. I didn't want to either, but I'm the administrator of NASA. It's kind of expected. You sure you're okay?" "Yeah, I'll be fine." "Good," Teddy said, adjusting his cufflinks. "Let's get back to work then." "Sure," Venkat shrugged. "Let's start with you authorizing my satellite time." Teddy leaned against the wall with a sigh. "This again." "Yes," Venkat said. "This again. What is the problem?" "Okay, run me through it. What exactly are you after?" Venkat leaned forward. Ares 3 was a failure, but we can salvage salvage something from it. We're funded for 5 Ares missions. I think we can get Congress to fund a 6th. I don't know, Venk. It's simple, Teddy. Venkat pressed on. The evac after 6 souls. There's almost an entire mission's worth of supplies up there.
Usually pretty good.
It would only cost a fraction of a normal mission. It normally takes 14 pre-supply probes to prep a site. We might be able to send what's missing in 3, maybe 2. Venk, the site got hit by a 175 kilometers per hour sandstorm. It'll be in really bad shape. That's why I want imagery, Venkat said. I just need a couple of shots of the site. We could learn a lot. Like what? You think we'd send people to Mars without being sure everything was in perfect working order? Everything doesn't have to be perfect, Venkat said quickly. Whatever's broken, we'd send replacements for. How will we know from imagery what's broken? It's just a first step. They evac'd because the wind was a threat to the MAV, but the HAB can withstand a lot more punishment. It might still be in one piece, and it'll be really obvious. If it popped, it'd completely blow out and collapse. If it's still standing, then everything inside will be fine. And the rovers are solid. They can take any sandstorm Mars has to offer. Just let me take a look, Teddy. That's all I want. Teddy paced to the windows and stared out at the vast expanse buildings. You're not the only guy who wants satellite time, you know. We have Ares 4 supply missions coming up. We need to concentrate on Schiaparelli Crater. I don't get it, Teddy. What's the problem here? Venkat asked. I'm talking about securing us another mission. We have 12 satellites in orbit around Mars. I'm sure you can spare 1 or 2 for a couple of hours. I can give you the windows for each one when they'll be at the right angle for Ares 3 shots. It's not about satellite time, Venk, Teddy interrupted. Venkat froze. Then, but what? Teddy turned to face him. We're a public domain organization. There's no such thing as secret or secure information here. So, any imagery we take goes directly to the public. Again, so? Mark Watney's body will be within 20 meters of the HAB, maybe partially buried in sand, but still very visible, and with a comm antenna sticking out of his chest. Any images we take will show that. Venkat stared, then glared. This is why you denied my imagery request for 2 months? Venk, come on. Really, Teddy? He said. You're afraid of a PR problem? The media's obsession with Watney's death is finally starting to taper off, Teddy said evenly. It's been bad press after bad press for 2 months. Today's memorial gives people closure, and the media can move on to some other story. The last thing we want is to dredge everything back up. So what do we do then? He's not going to decompose. He'll be there forever. Not forever, Teddy said. Within a year, he'll be covered in sand from normal weather activity.
It stopped. Oh well. Oh well.
The enemy team is taking the lead.
Battleship disappeared. He was last seen in front of me. He's probably behind that hill, more than likely.
Torpedoes, direct front.
Shit. Turn. Oof, they're gone. They're out of range. Haha, sucker. Don't mess with me, stupid destroyer. You got lucky. Cruiser up to my left. Nice shot. Something's up with my guns or something. Yep, there that is.
Main turret critically damaged.
Shit. Torpedoes. Bad thing about the battleships, that really slow in turning, so it's hard to dodge those torpedoes.
Planitia? Ares 3? Out of curiosity, she brought up the first of the 17 images. As she'd suspected, it was the Ares 3 site. She'd heard they were going to image it. Slightly ashamed of herself, she scoured the image for any sign of Mark Watney's dead body. After a minute of fruitless searching, she was simultaneously relieved and disappointed. She moved on to perusing the rest of the image. The hab was intact. Dr. Kapoor would be happy to see that. She brought the coffee mug to her lips, then froze. She mumbled to herself. She brought up the NASA intranet and navigated through the site to the specifics of the Ares missions. After some quick research, she picked up her phone. Hey, this is Mindy Park at SATCOM. I need the mission logs for Ares 3. Where can I get them? Okay. Thanks. After some more time on the intranet, she leaned back in her seat. She no longer needed the coffee to keep awake. Picking up the phone again, she said, "Hello, security? This is Mindy Park in SATCOM. I need the emergency contact number for Dr. Venkat Kapoor." "Yes, it's an emergency."
And kill number 2.
Problem solved, sir.
Mindy fidgeted in her seat as Venkat trudged in. To have the director of Mars operations visiting SATCOM was unusual. Seeing him in jeans and a t-shirt was even more unusual. "You Mindy Park?" he asked with the scowl of a man operating on 2 hours of sleep. "Yes," she quavered. "Sorry to drag you in."
Well, this cruiser...
"Assuming you had a good reason. So?" She said, looking down. It's... well, the imagery you ordered. Come here and look." He pulled another chair to her station and seated himself. "Is this about Watney's body? Is that why you're shook up?" No," she said. Well, She winced at her own awkwardness and pointed to the screen. Venkat inspected the image. "Looks like the hab's in one piece. That's good news. Solar array looks good. Rovers are okay too. Main dish isn't around. No surprise there. What's the big emergency?"
Enemy severely damaged.
She said, touching her finger to the screen. "That." Venkat leaned in and looked closer. Just below the hab, beside the rovers, 2 white circles sat in the sand. Looks like hab canvas. Maybe the hab didn't do well after all. Its pieces got torn off and... she interrupted. They looked like rover pop tents. Venkat looked again. Probably right. How'd they get set up? Mindy asked. Venkat shrugged. Commander Lewis probably ordered them deployed during the evac. Not a bad idea. Have the emergency shelters ready in case the MAV didn't work and the hab breached. Yeah, Mindy said, opening a document on her computer. This is the entire mission log for Sols 1 through 6, from MDV touchdown to MAV emergency liftoff. Oh, God.
This is a good part of the book right now.
Mindy put her hands over her face and sobbed quietly. "Fuck," Annie Montrose said. "You have got to be fucking kidding me." Teddy glared across his immaculate mahogany desk at his director of media relations. "Not helping, Annie." He turned to his director of Mars operations. "How sure are we of this?" "Nearly 100%, Venkat said. "Fuck," Annie said. Teddy moved a folder on his desk slightly to the right so it would line up with his mousepad. "It is what it is. We have to deal with it." "Do you have any idea the magnitude of shitstorm this is gonna be?" she retorted. "You don't have to face those damn reporters every day. I do." "One thing at a time," Teddy said. "Venk, What makes you sure he's alive? For starters, no body, Venkat explained. Also, the pop tents are set up, and the solar cells are clean. You can thank Mindy Park and Satcon for noticing all that, by the way. But, Venkat continued, his body could have been buried in the Sol 6 storm. The pop tents might have auto-deployed, and wind could have blown them around. A 30 kilometers per hour windstorm sometime later would have been strong enough to clean the solar cells, but not strong enough to carry sand. It's not likely, but it's possible. So I spent the last few hours checking everything I could. Commander Lewis had 2 outings in Rover 2. The second was on Sol 5. According to the logs, after returning, she plugged it into the hab for recharging. It wasn't used again, and 13 hours later, they evac. He slid a picture across the desk to Teddy. That's one of the images from last night. As you can see, Rover 2 is facing away from the hab. The charging port is in the nose, and the cable isn't long enough to reach. Teddy absently rotated the picture to be parallel with the edges of his desk. She must have parked it facing the hab, or she wouldn't have been able to plug it in, he said. It's been moved since Sol 5. Yeah, Venkat said, sliding another picture to Teddy. But here's the real evidence. In the lower right of the image you can see the MDV. It's been taken apart. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have done that without telling us. And the clincher is on the right of the image, Venkat pointed.
Upgrade time.
The landing struts of the MAV. Looks like the fuel plant has been completely removed, with considerable damage to the struts in the process. There's just no way that could have happened before liftoff. It would have endangered the MAV way too much for Lewis to allow it.
Hey, Annie said, why not talk to Lewis? Let's go to Capcom and ask her directly.
Rather than answer, Venkat looked to Teddy knowingly. Because, Teddy said, if Watney really is alive, we don't want the Ares 3 crew to know.
What? Annie said. How can you not tell them?
They have another 10 months on their trip home, Teddy explained. Space travel is dangerous. They need to be alert and undistracted. They're sad that they lost a crewmate, but they'd be devastated if they found out they'd abandoned him alive.
Annie looked to Venkat. You're on board with this?
It's a no-brainer, Venkat said. Let them deal with that emotional trauma when they're not flying a spaceship around.
This'll be the most talked about event since Apollo 11, Annie said. How will you keep it from them?
Teddy shrugged. Easy. We control all communication with them.
Fuck, Annie said, opening her laptop. When do you want to go public?
What's your take? He asked.
Annie said. We can hold the pics for 24 hours before we're required to release them. We'll need to send out a statement along with them. We don't want people working it out on their own. We'd look like assholes.
Okay, Teddy agreed. Put together a statement.
That'll be fun, she grumbled.
Where do we go from here? Teddy asked Venkat. Step 1 is communication, Venkat said. From the pics, it's clear the comm array is ruined. We need another way to talk. Once we can talk, we can assess and make plans. All right, Teddy said. Get on it. Take anyone you want from any department. Use as much overtime as you want. Find a way to talk to him. That's your only job right now. Got it. Annie, make sure nobody gets wind of this till we announce.
Right, Annie said. Who else knows?
Just the 3 of us and Mindy Park and Satcon, Venkat said.
I'll have a word with her, Annie said.
Teddy stood and opened his cell phone. I'm going to Chicago. I'll be back tomorrow.
Why? Annie asked.
That's where Watney's parents live, Teddy said. I owe them a personal explanation before it breaks on the news.
They'll be happy to hear their son's alive, Annie said.
Yes, he's alive, Teddy said. But if my math is right, he's doomed to starve to death before we can possibly help him. I'm not looking forward to the conversation.
Fuck, Annie said thoughtfully.
Nothing. Nothing at all, Venkat groaned. Are you kidding me? You had 20 experts working for 12 hours on this. We have a multi-billion-dollar communications network. You can't figure out any way to talk to him? The 2 men in Venkat's office fidgeted in their chairs. He's got no radio, said Chuck. Well, actually, said Morris, he's got a radio, but he doesn't have a dish. Thing is, Chuck continued, Without the dish, a signal would have to be really strong, like melting the pigeon strong, Morris supplied. For him to get it, Chuck finished. We considered Martian satellites, Morris said. They're way closer, but the math doesn't work out. Even Super Surveyor 3, which has the strongest transmitter, would need to be 14 times more powerful.
17 times, Chuck said.
14 times, Morris asserted.
No, it's 17. You forgot the amperage minimum for the heaters to keep the...
Guys, Venkat interrupted. I get the idea.
Sorry.
Sorry if I'm grumpy, Venkat said. I got like 2 hours sleep last night. No problem, Morris said.
Totally understandable, Chuck said.
Okay, Venkat said. Explain to me how a single windstorm removed our ability to talk to Ares 3.
Failure of imagination, Chuck said.
Totally didn't see it coming,
Morris agreed.
How many backup communication systems does an Ares mission have? Venkat asked.
4, Chuck said.
3, Morris said.
No, it's 4, Chuck corrected.
He said backup systems, Morris insisted. That means not including the primary system.
Oh, right, 3.
So 4 systems total then, Venkat said. Explain how we lost all 4.
Well, Chuck said, the primary ran through the big satellite dish. It blew away in the storm. The rest of the backups were in the MAV.
Yup, Morris agreed. The MAV is like a communicating machine. It can talk to Earth, Hermes, even satellites around Mars if it has to. And it has 3 independent systems to make sure nothing short of a meteor strike can stop communication.
Problem is, Chuck said, Commander Lewis and the rest of them took the MAV when they left.
So 4 independent communication systems became 1. And that one broke, Morris finished.
Venkat pinched the bridge of his nose.
How could we overlook this?
Chuck shrugged. Never occurred to us. We never thought.
What are the odds?
Chuck turned to him. 1 in 3, based on empirical data. That's pretty bad if you think about it. Of her arms, intonation of her voice, and expression on her face would be seen by millions of people over and over again. Not just in the immediate press cycle, but for decades to come. Every documentary made about Watney's situation would have this clip. She was confident that none of that concern showed on her face as she took to the podium. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," she said to the assembled reporters. "We have an important announcement to make. If you could all take your seats."
"What's this about, Annie?" Brian Hess from NBC asked. "Something happened with Hermes?"
"Please take your seats," Annie repeated. The reporters milled about and argued over seats for a brief time, then finally settled down. "This is a short but very important announcement," Annie said. "I won't be taking any questions at this time, but we will have a full press conference with Q&A in about an hour. We have recently reviewed satellite imagery from Mars and have confirmed that astronaut Mark Watney is currently still alive." After 1 full second of utter silence, the room exploded with noise. A week after the stunning announcement, it was still the top story on every news network in the world.
"I'm getting sick of daily press conferences," Venkat whispered to Annie.
"I'm getting sick of hourly press conferences," Annie whispered back. The two stood with countless other NASA managers and executives bunched up on the small stage in the press room. They faced a pit of hungry reporters, all desperate for any scrap of new information.
"Sorry I'm late,"
Teddy said, entering from the side door. He pulled some flashcards from his pocket, squared them in his hands, then cleared his throat.
"In the 9 days since announcing Mark Watney's survival, we've received a massive show of support from all sectors. We're using this shamelessly, every way we can."
A small chuckle cascaded through the room.
"Yesterday, at our request, the entire SETI network focused on Mars, just in case Watney was sending a weak radio signal. Turns out he wasn't, but it shows the level of commitment everyone has toward helping us. The public is engaged, and we will do our best to keep everyone informed. I've recently learned CNN will be dedicating a half-hour segment every weekday to reporting on just this issue. We will assign several members of our media relations team to that program, so the public can get the latest information as fast as possible. We have adjusted the orbits of 3 satellites to get more view time on the Ares 3 site and hope to catch an image of Mark outside soon. If we can see him outside, we will be able to draw conclusions on his physical health based on stance and activities. The questions are
There
many.
you go.
How long can he last? How much food does he have? Can Ares 4 rescue him? How will we talk to him? The answers to these questions are not what we want to hear. I can't promise we'll succeed in rescuing him, but I can promise this. The entire focus of NASA will be to bring Mark Watney home. This will be our overriding and singular obsession until he is either back on Earth or confirmed dead on Mars. Nice speech, Venkat said as he entered Teddy's office. Meant every word of it, Teddy said. Oh, I know. What can I do for you, Venk? I've got an idea. Well, JPL has an idea. I'm the messenger. I like ideas, Teddy said, gesturing to a seat. Venkat sat down. We can rescue him with Ares 4. It's very risky. We ran the idea by the Ares 4 crew. Not only are they willing to do it, but now they're really pushing hard for it. Naturally, Teddy said. Astronauts are inherently insane. And really noble. What's the idea? Well, Venkat began. It's in the rough stages, but JPL thinks the MDV can be misused to save him. Ares 4 hasn't even launched yet. Why misuse an MDV? Why not make something better? We don't have time to make a custom craft. Actually, he can't even survive till Ares 4 gets there, but that's a different problem. So tell me about the MDV. JPL strips it down, loses some weight, and adds some fuel tanks. Ares 4's crew lands at the Ares 3 site very efficiently. Then, with a full burn, and I mean a full burn, they can lift off again. It can't get back to orbit, but it can go to the Ares 4 site on a lateral trajectory that's, well, really scary. Then they have an MAV. How are they losing weight? Teddy asked. They already have it as light as it can be? By removing safety and emergency equipment. Wonderful, Teddy said. So we'd be risking the lives of 6 more people. Yep, Venkat said. It would be safer to leave the Ares 4 crew in Hermes and only send the pilot down with the MDV. But that would mean giving up the mission, and they'd rather risk death. They're astronauts, Teddy said. They're astronauts, Venkat confirmed. Well, that's a ludicrous idea, and I'll never okay it. We'll work on it some more, Venkat said. Try to make it safer. Do that. Any idea how to keep him alive for 4 years? Nope. Work on that, too. Will do, Venkat said. Teddy swiveled his chair and looked out the window to the sky beyond. Night was edging in. What must it be like, he pondered. He's stuck out there. He thinks he's totally alone, and that we all gave up on him. What kind of effect does that have on a man's psychology? He turned back to Venkat.
Main turret critically damaged.
I wonder what he's thinking right now. Log entry. Sol 61. How come Aquaman can control whales? They're mammals. Makes no sense.
Not enough.
Chapter 7. Log entry. Sol 63. I finished making water some time ago. I'm no longer in danger of blowing myself up. The potatoes are growing nicely. Nothing has conspired to kill me in weeks. And 70s TV keeps me disturbingly more entertained than it should. Things are stable here on Mars. It's time to start thinking long-term. Even if I find a way to tell NASA I'm alive, there's no guarantee they'll be able to save me. I need to be proactive. I need to figure out how to get to Ares 4. Won't be easy. Ares 4 will be landing at the Schiaparelli crater, 3,200 kilometers away. In fact, their MAV is already there. I know because I watched Martinez land it. It takes 18 months for the MAV to make its fuel, so it's the first thing NASA sends along. Sending it 48 months early gives it plenty of extra time in case fuel reactions go slower than expected. But much more importantly, it means a precision soft landing can be done remotely by a pilot in orbit. Direct remote operation from Houston isn't an option. They're anywhere from 4 to 20 light minutes away. Ares 4's MAV spent 11 months getting to Mars. It left before us and got here around the same time we did. As expected, Martinez landed it beautifully. It was one of the last things we did before piling into our MDV and heading to the surface. Ah, the good old days when I had a crew with me. I'm lucky. 3,200 kilometers isn't that bad. It could have been up to 10,000 kilometers away. And because I'm on the flattest part of Mars, the first 650 kilometers is nice, smooth terrain. Yeah, Sedalia Planitia. But the rest of it is nasty, rugged, crater-pocked hell. Obviously, I'll have to use a rover. And guess what? They weren't designed for massive overland journeys. This is going to be a research effort with a bunch of experimentation. The good news is I have lots of time to figure it out. Almost 4 years. Some stuff is obvious. I'll need to use a rover. It'll take a long time, so I'll need to bring supplies. I'll need to recharge en route, and rovers don't have solar cells, so I'll need to steal some from the Habs solar farm. During the trip, I'll need to breathe, eat, and drink. Lucky for me, the tech specs for everything are right here in the computer. I'll need to trick it. More accurately, Sirius 1 was aborted after 1 hour. I guess you could call it a failure, but I prefer the term learning experience. Things started out fine. I drove to a nice flat spot a kilometer from the hab, then started going back and forth over a 500-meter stretch. I quickly realized this would be a crappy test. After a few laps, I had compressed the soil enough to have a solid path. Nice, hard ground, which makes for abnormally high energy efficiency. Nothing like it would be on a long trip. After an hour, things started to get cold, and I mean really cold. The rover's more dangerous. Plutonium-238 is an incredibly unstable isotope. It's so radioactive that it will get red hot all by itself. As you can imagine, a material that can literally fry an egg with radiation is kind of dangerous. The RTG houses the plutonium, catches the radiation in the form of heat, and turns it into electricity. It's not a reactor. The radiation can't be increased or decreased. It's a purely natural process happening at the atomic level. As long ago as the 1960s, NASA began using RTGs to power unmanned probes. They have lots of advantages over solar power. They're not affected by storms. They work day or night. They're entirely internal, so you don't need delicate solar cells all over your probe.
Taking forever.
But they never used large RTGs on manned missions until the Ares program. Why not? It should be pretty damn out of the rover to keep it from getting too hot. As soon as the rovers were unstowed and activated, Commander Lewis had the joy of disposing of the RTG. She detached it from the MAV, drove 4 kilometers away, and buried it. However safe it may be, it's still a radioactive core, and NASA didn't want it too close to their astronauts. The mission parameters don't give a specific location to dump the RTG, just at least 4 kilometers away. So I'll have to find it. I have 2 things working for me. First, I was assembling solar panels with Vogel when Commander Lewis drove off, and I saw she headed due south. Also, she planted a 3-meter pole with a bright green flag over where she buried it. Green shows up extremely well against the Martian terrain. It's made to ward us off in case we get lost on a rover EVA later on. So my plan is, head south 4 kilometers, then search around till I see the green flag. Having rendered Rover 1 unusable, I'll have to use my mutant rover for the trip. I can make a useful test mission of it. I'll see how well the battery harness holds up to a real journey, and how well the solar cells do strapped to the roof. I'll call it Sirius 2. Log entry: Sol 69. I'm no stranger to Mars. I've been here a long time, but I've never been out of sight of the hab before today. You wouldn't think that would make a difference, but it does. As I made my way toward the RTG's burial site, it hit me. Mars is a barren wasteland, and I am completely alone here. I already knew that, of course, but there's a difference between knowing it and really experiencing it. All around me there was nothing but dust, rocks, and endless empty desert in all directions. The planet's famous red color is from iron oxide coating everything. So it's not just a desert. It's a desert so old it's literally rusting. The hab is my only hint of civilization. Seeing it disappear made me way more uncomfortable than I like to admit. I put those thoughts behind me by concentrating on what was in front of me. I found the RTG right where it was supposed to be, 4 kilometers due south of the hab. It wasn't hard to find. Commander Lewis had buried it atop a small hill. She probably wanted to make sure everyone could see the flag, and it worked great. Except instead of avoiding it, I beelined to it and dug it up. Not exactly what she was going for.
Problem solved, sir.
It was a large cylinder with heat sinks all around it. I could feel the warmth it gave off even through my suit's gloves. It's really disconcerting.
Alright, that was a good battle. Last battle was... just kidding. It was a terrible last battle. I did get enough experience to upgrade my guns. So I think what this did is add another cannon. I'm not too sure. Let me look around. Nope, didn't add another cannon, but it could have changed the shell size. I'm not too sure. Hold on. Firing range increase. Okay, so yep, the range increase. So now I can shoot up to 9.8 kilometers away. Kilometers. Yeah. Yeah. Kilometers away. Instead of 8.5, I think. Oh no, 10%. That's 8.8. Yeah. This is a really fun battleship. It's a pain in the butt due to the slow speed, but I guess I'll get used to that. I used to cause my Tenaru, or whatever the fuck it's called. I know that its speed gets up to what? Let's see. $33.2 knots, which is pretty good compared to the Kawachi. Right. Yep, that's gonna be it for this episode of World of Warships. I'll see you guys on the next episode of World of Warships. This is episode 1. I'll see you guys in episode 2. Thanks for watching. Peace out, guys. Alright guys, if you look down in the link below in the description, there will be a link to this book, this amazing book. Go check it out.